All right. Good day, everyone. It is your humble Professor Reasonable once again, and we've been discussing the topic: "A woman's world is beyond beautiful," which is actually the title of our page. And we've all along we'll be trying to decipher the wonders behind the creation of the woman. Now, and we did say in our previous presentations that the reason we are doing this is to aid us to understand even ourselves, the men. Now, during some of the definitions that we provided, to aid us actually on this topic. We did when we're looking at the meaning of the actual meaning of the woman, because we are actually to really understand life, we are actually to understand nature. We are to understand ourselves, because in our previous presentation we did say that even we are part of nature. Now, that some of the fundamental challenges we are having in Nigeria and in Africa is the fact that somehow, some way, we have missed the basis. So this is why we are looking at the woman, who is a very, very key phenomenon, in the creation of life, as a basis for us to reconnect back to, where we missed it. So this is actually why we are having this discussion today. Because if we are to look at it, okay, from a man's perspective, yes, most people will say the world is a man's world, and stuff like that. This is how, because I always say that the way we see things, the way we view the world, the way we view things matters a lot about what, matters a lot in terms of what we see. What the way you view a particular thing will determine what you see in that thing. So now, for us to really get it right, so we are taking it from the perspective of the woman. Now, and we did say that some of the definition, while we're looking at the meaning of the woman, we did say that the woman is the wisdom of man, or the wisdom of life. Then we also say that the woman, that's W-O, then man, obviously, could also stand for wealth of man. Now, and we said, just like what I just said now, that the way we view a particular thing matters, sorry, determines what we see, that the woman is also the mirror of life, or the mirror of man. So which means that one of the reasons that the women were created, or the woman was created, is not only just for companionship, for childbearing, and stuff like that, but for the fact that we can use the woman as a study. Yes, we can use the woman to actually see into our own lives, into our own self. So, which means that when you have this is actually the wisdom behind the creation of the woman. That when you really understand the woman, you get to really understand yourself, get to understand nature, get to understand life. As we proceed, we'll get to understand better what I'm talking about, and why we are, having this discussion. And we also did say that if a man really do not understand the woman, and understand how to deploy the resources, of the woman, definitely the woman could also mean woe of man, or woe of life. So which means that this is where I always say that, you know, the women are a reflection of what the society is. See, which means that the women are actually our reflection. So the type of women you have in any society shows you what even the men are, what that society actually is. So you now realize that in every sense, when we say the women are actually our mirrors, so it's actually true. Now, and we also say that why we must take a very vivid study of the woman is the fact that, we're all talking about wealth creation today in many nations, we there is this discussion around the world today. Many nations coming to Africa to scout for the resources that Africa have, and so on and so forth. And I looked at it and I said that, most of us do not even realize that the greatest resources of life, like in the previous presentation, I said that the greatest resources of life is not really the mineral resources that we have actually. So now, taking a look at the woman herself will give us the understanding and make us come to realize the fact that the greatest resources in life is actually man himself. So this is where I say that the greatest mine, like today, a lot of people are talking about mining cryptocurrency, mining gold, mining petroleum, and so on and so forth. We shift a lot of attention to mining a lot of natural resources and so on and so forth. But most people do not realize that the greatest mine on earth is not even the gold mine. It is not the Ethereum mine. It is not the plutonium. It is not the uranium mine. It is actually the human mind. Yes, the greatest mind on earth is actually the human mind. This is actually the greatest deposit of any resources that you will find on earth. Now, when we extend it to life in general, then we cannot say that the greatest mine in life is actually God Himself. Yes. So for those who understand how to mind their minds. So sometimes when we gist in, especially in Nigeria, we use a language that when you want to praise somebody who is intelligent, you say, "Ah, my friend, all your day your head," or "My brother, my guy, all your day your head." You know, this language actually means beyond the way we just use it. Yes, the brains of the human being, the mind of the human being, actually means a lot. So, and in our previous presentation, we actually made a comparison, and we did say that um, for any nation, for any people to actually be able to, utilize, even type in the first place, discover their resources, tap their resources, and utilize these natural resources, you need a lot of investment in human resources. Yes. This is where you see sometimes government talk about investments, human capital investments. Yes, for any nation who do not really take um, um, take it serious to invest in its citizens in terms of human mind development, or what they call human capital development, honestly, that nation or that people is headed for doom. There is no two way about it. So now this brings us to this very important topic we will be discussing today: human resources and evolution. Now, from this topic, human resources and evolution, we'll get to understand why we are discussing about the woman, the main importance, because I'm using the woman as a pinhole, or as a lens to see into life generally, and then from here we'll now understand why, you see, in Africa or in Nigeria, it takes a people from probably Europe, America, from the advanced, those countries we call advanced countries, and why these countries are actually advanced, why we call them advanced people, advanced country. It comes from their evolution, that these people have actually evolved, far, far more and better than us in Africa. Yes. So we now realize that why we say these people are actually advanced country now, and why in Africa we're actually having the kind of underdevelopment that we have. So as we go on, we get to see. So before we get to that, remember in the previous presentations, if you are just seeing this clip now, I will like to encourage you to look at our page, A Woman's World is Beyond Beautiful, so that you can actually, catch up on what we are discussing on some of the previous presentations that we have had. We have actually discussed all these things, meaning of a woman, and especially what I'm about to talk about now, which has to do with, the natural resources and the human resources, the link between these two types of resources. And we did say for us to be able to look at the human resources and the importance and so on, we use the woman as a basis or as an example. That there are certain resources you find in the woman. And when we say, because the woman is actually our mirror, which means that if you are looking at the mirror, if you place an M on the mirror, just like in the previous presentation, I explained this, that if you place an M on the mirror, what you actually see will be a W. So which means that when you are looking at the mirror or when you are looking at a woman, you're actually looking at yourself. This you see how beautiful God created it. This word W for a woman, man, M for the man, were not actually mistake. God inspires language himself. So he knew why he inspired men to think in this direction and come up with these specific terms to represent man and woman. And now we are saying that when you are looking at a woman, you're actually indirectly looking at yourself. This is the wisdom that is involved. Most people undermine women, most people underrate women, not knowing that the exact, apart if you remove the sexuality of a woman, everything you see in a man is actually deposited in the woman. And that is what we call the human resources. And now we actually did look at when we say human resources, that you need the human resources to be able to explore your natural resources. And we also look at the fact that there are other types of resources. We even have, apart from the natural resources, we have the supernatural resources, we have the rare resources, where you'll be talking about how to use light and so on and so forth. That in today's world, you know, advanced countries have been able to invest in human capital. That means they have been able to tap into their human resources. This is why they're actually leading us today. Now, because they have been able to explore a lot about their human resources, they have been able to tap a lot into nature's resources. That is why you see they come to Africa, because this is where most of the resources of the world is deposited. They come here because they are more evolved and advanced than us. We have little or nothing to do. We don't even know the resources that we have. It takes these people to come from their own countries far, far away abroad to come down here and begin to even open our eyes to know the kind of resources that we have. I wonder if Africans will, if it didn't take the intervention of the Europeans or the Americans or the Russians or the Chinese, if Africans will ever know anything about uranium, if Africans will ever know anything about gold, titanium, and so many of these, advanced minerals. And now I bet you, like I said, that there are other types of resources, like the supernatural resources. I call it the supernatural resources. We see countries, advanced countries, taking expeditions into space today. What are they? We think Africans will just sit back here and want to believe that these people are wasting their time. No, these people are looking for resources. They are looking to find, because they know that beyond the immediate nature, beyond the human being, then there is external nature. Beyond the immediate external nature, where like the land, the air, and the water, there's the outer space, which is what I call the supernature. Now, there is a lot of resources that you can also find. And beyond that outer space, the external space, you have what I call the realm of the race, where they I predict that in the nearest future, people will not even be talking about artificial intelligence. We'll be talking about probably the ray intelligence. We'll come to that as we progress. Now, let's I've digressed a bit. So we come back to what we are talking about human resources and evolution. Why we see that these people have actually gone beyond us. And in the previous presentations, we actually did look at some of the human, what we say are the human resources, what you find even in the woman or in the man that makes, a human being very, very crucial to life. Some of it we talked about. We said one of the most important one is character, the human character. Then, like I said in previous presentation, somebody will want to ask how is character, resources to human being. As we delve on, as we begin to discuss more and more, we look at how important character is when it comes to wealth. Now, knowledge too is one of the resources we did say, can be found in the human being or is deposited in human being, which is crucial to exploration of wealth and establishment of wealth, life, and so on. Then we also look at another resources we call the human talent, and we did mention the different types of talents, and we say another thing is the human potentials, then another thing is the human powers, and then the egg of life, the human emirate. All these things we explained in our previous presentation what they mean in brief. Then now, the importance of this today's discussion, human resources and evolution, is that now that we now have we've measured some of these human resources, and we say that these human resources, the knowledge, your character, your potentials, your power, your body potent energy, and so on and so forth, are actually very key in the discovery of natural resources, which means in the discovery of wealth, creation of wealth, and so on and so forth. Now, let us now look at it from the perspective of knowledge. For example, we did say that one of the resources in human being is knowledge. Now, and this is exactly what we go to school for. For the world, in some of our previous presentations too, we made mention of the fact that the world have actually advanced or evolved, through some stages from what we call the slave world to the colonial world to the smart world. Today's world is actually a smart world, and we are predicting that the world is gradually evolving towards another kind of world we call the supersonic world. Supersonic world. And from the supersonic world, the world is going to evolve into what we call the flash world. You can also represent this as the real world. Yes. So now, just like the world has actually evolved from slave world to colonial world, smart world, and supersonic world, and eventually it will also evolve to the flash world and so on. Now, humans have, based on education, the knowledge we acquire. Now, humans too do evolve, right? Now, as humans have evolved, as we acquire knowledge, we evolve from our crude states to what we call, let me just simplify it first. Okay, from our natural state, from the natural state to the supernatural state, supernatural state to the ray state. Now, what this means is that humans can actually evolve from the crude state. This is the human stage where somebody has little or no knowledge about himself, the world, the external nature, and so on and so forth. And you find out that the person will have what we call unstable character, actually, or diffused character activation. Let me just end there. Then, from by the time we begin to acquire knowledge, you realize that humans can actually evolve to the what we call the informed being, or the informed stage. And at the stage of being an informed person, the human actually undergo refinement. So you become refined. So being an informed person means that you're actually an informed individual. Then from here, so by the time we evolve again, this is where I say that the human can actually become now evolved as a matured individual. Now, which means that information brings about evolution. So by the time you become evolved, another word for being an evolved person, we can call it a free man or an evolved individual. So this is where you see some persons say that some persons are Freemasons. Yes, that is what it means to be a free individual. Knowledge actually brings freedom. Now we'll look at shortly what knowledge brings. When we say, when we say knowledge brings freedom, what it means. Now, by the time you have become evolved, automatically the individual transformed into light. At this stage, the individual can say he is an illuminated individual. Yes. So this is why you see at some point in life, some persons are now light, a shining light, what we call star, like in the music world or in the music world, we refer to some, we refer to some musicians who have made it, who have arrived a great platform as stars or musical stars in the entertainment world, in on different platforms. We have political stars, we have intellectual stars, those who are in the education sectors and so on. So what this means is that these individuals are supposed to have become informed, evolved, and they have now become somewhat a pillar of light to other people who are still at the crude stage, who are still struggling to become evolved. Now, what it takes simply to become evolved, there's a bridge between the crude man and the informed man, is the bridge to cross, which is the bridge of education. So, which means that, or the bridge of knowledge, the bridge of knowledge. Okay, W here, the bridge of knowledge. Now, so which means that the machinery for refinement of an individual, of a human being, from the crude stage to the informed stage to the free man stage or the evolved stage, is actually education or knowledge. So which means that this is what knowledge actually does for us. So you see why we say knowledge is actually one of the resources in human being, when we're talking about human resource, that actually that is actually very key in the creation of wealth, in this sustenance of life even itself. The amount of knowledge at your disposal goes a long way to determine even your power in life and in society. It also determines, how free you become. Now, let us now explain what we say an evolved person is actually a free man. Now, what it means is that when you have become informed, you are actually free from things like greed, because an informed individual actually, when we say you are also a refined individual. An informed individual is a refined individual. It means that when we acquire knowledge also has a way of transforming our characters, and part of the character that knowledge will help to work on an individual to work on is actually the greed. Now, when you are an informed individual, you are free from greed. You are free from self-centeredness. You will be free from racism. The issues of racism, religious bigotry, ethnic bigotry, hate. Yes, you'll be free from hate of all these things, all these behaviors, all these negative characters are what actually makes a human being crude. So by the time you begin to acquire knowledge, you begin to refine yourself, you begin to become informed, you get transformed, you become free of all these issues. Even as a free man or an informed individual, an evolved individual, you are also supposed to be free. Now let us take it to the perspective of religion. You're also supposed to become free from fornication, from adultery, from covetousness. So this is why you see, when religious knowledge is actually also a form of knowledge. Science is not only the knowledge that is available in the world that helps in the human transformation. Science has its own advantage. It has its own use. Then religious knowledge too has its own use, and especially when we are talking about characters, we all know how much religious knowledge can play, how much role religious knowledge do play in our lives. Now, so you now realize that for an individual to become free, knowledge is very, very important. And we also understand the role knowledge play when it comes to wealth creation. So this is why some of these resources, when we talk about human resources, it is human for creation of wealth, for a society, for a nation, for yourself as an individual. You must not play with your human resources. And now this is where evolution comes into play. Now let us now look at it when we say some countries are advanced more than other countries. Why? You see, we most of the European nations, America, even China today, Russia, and so many other nations, seriously coming up, or they have a long way become advanced. We say they are better than Africa, they are more evolved than Africa. The truth is this, you'll agree with me. In these countries, in advanced countries, whether Europe, America, today we are even talking about Singapore and so on, India. Now, you'll agree with me that these countries have more educated people than the African continent. This is the truth. So, what we are saying, or what we mean, is that you find more informed people, more educated people, more informed people in these advanced nations than you find in Africa. So you now see why Africa, despite the huge natural resources deposited in Africa, we find it difficult, very, very difficult, even in the level of leadership, to get it right. Because till today, Africans are yet to be able to evolve as human beings. The advanced nations have more evolved individuals than in than we find in Africa. This is just the simple difference. It's not as if somehow they can be more intelligent than us, or because we are black there is something wrong with us. No, we have not made conscious effort towards human evolution. This is just the basic difference between us and them. So they have come to really understand what is in them. They have been able to transform themselves, and now they are applying themselves to external nature and even space and beyond, making their society better. But in Africa, we are still afflicted with common human, you know, crude behavioral problems like greed, self-centeredness. You and I know that one of the major problems, even in terms of leadership, we have when we are talking about Africa, you'll be talking about corruption, you'll be talking about embezzlement. It's all about what? Greed, self-centeredness. So you see that most of us have not been able to do what? Evolve. We've not been able to free ourselves from these issues. So this is why you see it is important we are actually talking about, discussing this topic today: human resources and evolution. First of all, for Africa, for us in Nigeria, in Africa, to get it right, we must look inward. That is why I am using the woman as my, lens for us to see into who we really are. Now, if you agree that the woman has all these resources, and these resources are key to, human development, to our survival, to our progress, and even getting Nigeria and Africa out of this state of quagmire, then then you will also agree with me that we need to look inward, you know, to really understand what is in us, the human resources that we have in us, then and eventually apply the principle of evolution to this is actually the simple solution to the African problem. Now, let me take it a bit, to the issue of leadership. You know, we just finished our elections. We just finished our elections, and there is so much crisis. Let me say, okay, people are aggrieved here and there, believing that we missed it in the process, we didn't get it right, and stuff like that. But the truth is this: now, as a people, because we have intentionally, I always say this, that Africans intentionally refuse to evolve. This is the fact. We refuse to evolve. This is why you see um, um, things will continue to be the way they are. Now, if we complain that certain people come to power that are not supposed to be in power, or the process by which we arrive at our elected leaders has a challenge, that is because we as a people have this challenge of evolution. Yes, because we have refused to become free from greed. We have refused to become free of self-centeredness. You accuse, now we have forgot that the various government institutions are manned by Nigerians. It is Nigerians. Europeans didn't come here to run our elections for us. Now, if you choose a president today, that president will emerge from Nigerians. Now, a leader will only come from the crop of people that are available. So if the people are evolved people, definitely the leader will become an evolved leader, because you only get to choose from an evolved people that you have. If the people refuse to evolve, now, which means free themselves from all these issues we are talking about, definitely the leaders you get will just be the same. There is no difference between us and our leaders. This is just the truth. So in a nutshell, for us, why we are discussing all these things today is that if we are talking about wealth creation for Nigeria, wealth creation for Africa, getting it right, even in terms of leadership, we cannot, escape looking, going back to the basis, which is looking inward, what is in us, that we eventually apply to life and external nature. Thank you.